My name is Jamin. I'm your first friend in Alaska. I'm also an associate real estate broker in South Central Alaska, which makes me the perfect person to talk about the Matsu Valley real estate market update, looking at the single family properties, the raw land, and the multifamily market. Before we get started though, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, and let's jump into it. First thing we're going to look at is single family properties, and this time last year there were about 590 properties available on the market. This year it's about 580, so we see just a little bit of a decrease. Not too much though. Historically though, we do see a pretty big decrease because normally we'd see anywhere from about 770 to about 880. So you do see, how far we've fallen since then, that now we're sitting at about 570. Next, we see that the number of properties that have actually sold went from about 150 this time last year to 160 this year, which means that we do have pretty good demand for properties that are in the Matsu Valley compared to like the inventory that we do have available, because historically, we'd see anywhere from about 160 to about 190 properties selling prior to COVID. So that it is kind of indicative of how in demand properties are in the Matsu Valley, which does make sense. It is a lot more affordable in Anchorage in a lot of ways, does give you a lot more space, homes are newer, and just kind of has a slower pace of life than what you're going to have in Anchorage. So it does kind of make sense that you do continue to see a pretty high demand for single family properties over in the Matsu Valley. Next, we see the average sold price has not gone down, which I know some people have really been predicting for 5 years at this point, but the prices have not gone down. In fact, they went from about 413,000 this time last year to about 440 this year, which means that the average sold price has gone up by about 6.6% for the year over year, at least year to date. Now, this time last year, we were sitting at about 3.4%. Year before that, about 4%. And year before that, it was 22, and it was like, 10%, but, is 22. So, we were all just being crazy back then. But I say that just to show that we do see, like, instead of the steadying position where we're at, about 4%, I'm pretty happy with that. It has increased pretty quickly up to about 6.6%. I do believe we're seeing a situation here where we do have some new construction coming onto the market, and that's doing a lot to kind of hoist up, if you would, prop up the average sold price for a lot of the properties that are in the Matsu Valley, because new construction does make up a lot more of the market makeup in the Matsu Valley than does in most other places. So, and obviously also new construction is going to be more expensive than the resale stuff normally. So not whole lot of surprises there, but I do still expect that we're seeing a pretty healthy increase for the average sold price for properties in the Matsu. Let's switch gears and talk about land now. Now, this time last year, we see that there was about 630 pieces of raw land available, and this year it's about 620. So that's pretty in line, I guess, what you can say with the year before. Not a whole lot of changes. Historically, though, we would expect to see anywhere from about 1,100 up to about 1,150. So we're seeing about a little under half of what we would normally expect to see as far as the inventory goes for raw land. Next thing we see is that the number of pieces of raw land that are actually selling went from 46 this time last year to 60 this year. So we're seeing a bit of an increase for the demand for raw land in the Matsu Valley. Now, what you keep in mind, I'm not sure if this is like the little quarter acre postage stamp sized lot, or if it's like a big 200 acre type of parcel. I don't know just by looking at this, but whatever it is, we are seeing a pretty good increase for the demand for raw land in the Matsu, just going off of this. And historically, that's about in line with what we'd expect to see. Normally we'd see anywhere from about 57, I think, up to about 70 something. So the fact that we're sitting at 60, we're about in line where we normally are. And that's with having about half the inventory that we normally have. Now, for the average sold price, this should come as a surprise to nobody, but the average sold price has actually increased, I think, by about 17%. It went from about 85,000 this time last year to about 100,000 this year. So, not surprisingly, you see the demand going up for raw land just based on the number of lots that are actually selling, while the supply is about half of what it normally is. So not surprisingly, we do see the average sold price going up. Now again, this might just be we're selling like really big lots this year compared to the year before, and so we're seeing like this big increase there for the average sold price. It's really hard to say exactly, but either way, I'd say we're seeing as far as raw land goes, seeing a pretty healthy increase for the average sold price for raw land in the Matsu Valley. Well, I say healthy, it depends what side of the equation you're sitting on, but that's what we're seeing right now. Now, let's go and take a break real quick here. For those of you who've been watching for a bit, you probably couldn't avoid knowing that I do host the Alaskan Journey podcast, where I talk with people who've recently moved up here about their experiences and what they think of Alaska. We're shaking things up just a little bit. We're continuing to do that. And also, we're trying something new where we have people who haven't moved to Alaska yet come onto the show and just ask me questions, and that's the whole podcast. If you would like to have your questions answered, and you'd love to be on the podcast, hey, would love to have you. Go to my website, register there, and in the description, little comment section box, you see when you're registering, you can just put in podcast, and I'll know you want to potentially host a show and kind of get your questions answered, and that's going to be the best way to do that. And we'll love to talk and see if we can make that happen. Okay, done with that. Let's keep it moving. Next, we see that for multifamily properties, this time last year, there were 41 properties available on the market, and this year it's 43. So we're seeing a very, very slight increase for the number of multifamily properties that are on the market. This is actually, I think, a bigger number than what we see in any other multifamily asset class for any of the local markets in Anchorage or Eagle River. But let's go and take a look here at historically what we're seeing, because normally we'd see anywhere from about 66 to about 90. So we're still sitting at approximately half of what we normally have for the inventory. But what are you going to do? Now, looking at the number of multifamily properties that have actually sold, we see that this time last year it was 10, and this year it's 9. So not a whole lot of changes there one way or the other. Historically, we would expect to see anywhere from 8 to 12. So being at 9, that's kind of par for the course. All right, let's talk average sold price for multifamily properties in the Matsu Valley. I think this is possibly appreciated faster than any other asset class in the entire region, because we see that back in 2021, average sold price was about $462,000. Now it's about $640,000. Okay, that is an astronomical jump. Now, do keep in mind, this does include this is multifamily, so it's everything from the little duplex that may or may not actually be a duplex. Maybe it's just a single family that people have tortured to try to turn into a duplex, and it includes everything from that all the way up to the big 50-unit multifamily commercial property. So it includes a lot there, but what we're seeing is consistently it is going up. Okay, because the year before, average sold price was about $601,000, and now it's about $640,000. So that means it's actually increased by about 7.8%, and that's pretty aggressive for multifamily. Now, again, it includes everything from the commercial property down to that little duplex kind of thing. So I don't necessarily believe that everybody, if you have a multifamily in the Matsu Valley, your value is shot up by $40,000. But I would expect to see a pretty healthy increase for the average sold price, really if for no other reason, just because the rents are going up. And when that happens, the value of these multifamily properties do go up. And realistically, I'm not really seeing rents coming down anytime in the near future, just because it's a supply and a demand thing. And maybe the Matsu Valley will overbuild and have too many multifamily properties out there, but we'll see. We kind of seem to have the opposite problem right at the moment. So in summary, what I'm seeing here really for the entire Matsu Valley is that we're seeing a pretty healthy increase for the average sold price on everything, and still continuing to see a pretty good demand for living in the Matsu Valley. And not a big surprise there. It's more affordable than Anchorage. You do have to commute, but a lot of people are happy to make that trade-off. It means they get more space, they get a newer property, and their cost of living is going to be lower. So for a lot of people, that is going to be worth it to them, and that's why we're going to probably continue seeing the value for these properties going up in the near future. Now, lest you despair and get really frustrated if you're on the outside looking in, you're wanting to buy something here and you're just waiting for that crash to happen, I would say probably let's just get comfortable with the idea that that's probably not going to happen in the foreseeable future. Maybe something really crazy happens, but for the foreseeable future, I'm really not seeing that occur anytime in the near future, just because this is a supply and this is a demand issue. And while the Matsu Valley is working to catch up with their supply better than Anchorage, or keep up with the supply to feed the demand better than Anchorage, I don't really see it catching up anytime soon and us just having a glut of inventory. Maybe I could be wrong, but I really don't expect to see it. But this has been my market update. Thank you very much for watching. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I know you see all the stuff around here, the studio, and it looks awesome. I do actually make my money by buying and selling real estate, believe it or not. So if you're looking to do that anytime in the near future, reach out to me, let's talk, and let's see how I can help you. Okay, thanks for watching. See you next time.